Welcome back to the Blueprint to Ultra podcast with your hosts, Steve Epifano and Jeff Winchester. Listen, our goal with this podcast is to help you put together your next blueprint for your upcoming Ultra. We do this by interviewing a variety of guests, from those of us at the back, like myself, or even the mid of the pack, sometimes if I get lucky, to the elite and to the front of the pack, all by sharing their stories and their experiences. And we think that if you hear them, you will learn from them. Sometimes there are great stories that will tell you what you should do. And other times, maybe you should reconsider how you approach your own races. But that's really the goal of the podcast, to help you put together that blueprint. Now, today's guest came to us as a recommendation by a listener and a friend of the podcast, also a fellow ambassador of Steve's with Blackbeard's Revenge. And his name is John Adams. When he sent in his recommendation, he said, and this is how he described our guest, he said, she's a beast of a runner who specializes in the 100-kilometer to the 100-mile range and is an absolutely amazing human. Proof that age isn't as limiting of a factor in this sport as some would like to believe. Also, a close friend who helped save my Cowboy 200 early on, even though she herself had to DNF. Steve, with that kind of recommendation, I think, you think, we think this is the type of person we want to talk to, get some life lessons on running and also about racing and even strategies. And so with that, today, welcome to our show, Miss Dawn Gwin. Dawn, welcome to the Blueprint Ultra podcast.
Thank you.
We are excited to have you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Steve, fellow ambassador of yours. So he comes highly recommended and he's reputable as well.
Yep. We may have to talk to John one day too.
Well, maybe he'd be a good story.
That's his
as well.
punishment.
That will be his punishment.
His friend into this. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I don't know. We were discussing. I think you should. I mean, we were discussing doing Blackbeard, and I was going to run it, and he was going to actually be crew. He said he's never crewed that race.
Fantastic.
So I highly recommend that race.
I said if I fly out, when I sign up, are you going to crew?
That's awesome. That's over here on the East Coast with me. It's a couple hours from where I live. So you should definitely consider signing up for that race. Steve, are you an ambassador this year for the Blackbeard?
Not this year, but my mom actually did put her name in the hat to be an ambassador. So we'll see if she gets it. I don't know what distance she did.
That's fantastic. His mom ran the race last year, having DNF'd it 2 years ago, and the last year she finished it. So just a fantastic thing. We actually interviewed her on the podcast too a while back. So all right, Dawn, you sent us a good amount of information about yourself, about your running journey and how you were shaped early on in running prior to 1995 up to 2019, where you had a break. So you started running in middle school, started running and getting involved in that, had some ups and downs in that, and then you took a long sabbatical from 1995 to 2019 and then came back to running. And so the question that I have for you is how did your experience running when you were younger shape the runner you are today and got you back into it? I'm trying to connect those two stories for us.
Oh, I had a passion for running, and I took a long gap. I raised my twins. I got my master's degree. So, coming out of the military, and that's the huge gap, is raising kids and getting them in the right direction, and then dealing with health problems in between. That's the huge gap. I'd say I picked it up 6 years ago, after everything had kind of leveled off. I hadn't really been able to run much up until then. And then I just made up my mind and started doing it and getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and going out there by myself and just, hashing it out with myself every day, writing my own schedules to begin with. And then I finally hired somebody to help me continue on. I ran 5K for the most part in high school, the last 2 years of high school, and for a couple of years in college for cross country. I ran cross country 3 years before I cut off and went into the military and then finished my bachelor's degree. So that said, that's a little history with it. I believe, you're never done.
What do you mean by you're never done?
You can always go back to something if you enjoy it that much.
Well, that's why I asked the question like I did, because when I read your information, your early years in running really shaped you. It meant a lot to you, and just kind of how you began to see yourself going through middle school, high school, and even to early college, how you grew through the sport, how it actually sounded like how you grew as a person and gave you a level of confidence in yourself as a person. And so the reason I actually asked you that way is because I saw this impact that running had on you. And then you have this 24-year sabbatical of life that a lot of us have, right? And you go away from the sport, and then in 2019 you come back to it. And so for me, it was like this person loved it so much. Life gets in the way for a lot of us, and then there's a lot of things that can happen to us, and we don't have to unpack all that. It's definitely not the goal, but we come back to something that really means a lot to us that we identified when we were younger. So what was it like returning to that lost love, if you will?
I enjoyed it just as
Yeah.
much as I did then. I find a lot of peace going out there, and everybody thinks, you have to go out there and be serious. And I literally would stop, take pictures the whole way along the way. There's a lot of stuff here in the spring, flowers, lizards, animals, all sorts of things that I run across. And what better way to remember where you were than to take a picture of it?
Awesome. So I've kind of said that you came back to it, and you're making it sound like you're just out there just enjoying the scenery. But since 2019,
Mm-hmm.
you have been participating in, I think I saw like 36 races since that point. And a
You
good,
did.
yeah,
It's a lot of races.
and that's a lot of races. That doesn't count just the training run. So it's fun looking at the lizards, like you said. But there's a side of you that really, you're laughing now because you're like, okay, he's right. Because there's a side of you, right, that really likes to race as well. And there's a
Yeah.
part of you that likes to be a part of that community that is beginning to give something to you. So what about ultras drew you in? Because again, you could go do 5Ks, but you wouldn't be on the but you would not be on the Blueprint to Ultra podcast because you run 5Ks. You would not be on this podcast if you were on 10Ks. What brought you from this love back to the sports you love? And now you're dancing in ultras. Yes, you may be taking pictures because you're taking your time, which we are huge fans of. But why ultras? Yeah.
I'll be honest, and you can laugh at me. I got bored with 5K, 10K.
Okay. And ultras are a little bit longer than a 10K.
And then if you follow my history, you'll see that I moved up to 30K. And then if you look in there, you'll see I did a couple marathons. I'm like, I'm still not satisfied with this. And yes, I'm very, very competitive, very against myself of all things, not against someone else, but against me. And because I have like what I do now, I just have a firm belief in something, and I drive towards it until I get it. A little bit.
Was there?
Yeah, go ahead, Steve. Sorry.
I was gonna say, was there something you were like looking for that you didn't have in the 5K and 10K and marathon? Was it, I don't know, like the wall, or just looking to see how far you can go? Was there something that was missing from those other ones besides boredom?
I haven't met the wall. Most of the stuff has been, I find, I guess, my boundary as far as not necessarily the end of it, and now I had better to explain. People say, for example, if you run a 50K, I kept looking for that end of the rope. Where does it run out before I can't do it anymore? Well, and if I get to that rope, instead of cutting it off, I need to figure out how to go further.
That's
at
awesome.
The same speed. So
yeah, keep moving. Yeah. So where does the drive then come from? Is it something that you have always had? Is it just something that you're like, I want to get better. I want to go further. Like you said, is it about challenging yourself, or is it about proving something to yourself?
Sean, I guess the best way I can describe it is, I believe something can be done, and then I want to do it. It's how do I get there? It's putting the puzzle pieces together to get there.
We call that putting together a blueprint.
Yeah. Branding.
We appreciate you helping with that. That's exactly right. So before we move on to some of the specific things we had about you, again, John recommended you because of your experience with him. He said you were just an incredible human being. You helped him finish his 200-mile race early on, and you ended up DNFing that race. So what's he talking about? Like, why does John speak so highly of you? Like, I don't know. Like, why do you think John speaks so highly of you?
We had a heck of a good time. I'm not gonna lie. One of the things is a lot of people want to quit, and and I'll subtly, say, "Hey, what's going on?" And they'll start describing it. I'm like, "Well, try this, try that, a little of this, little of that." Not that I know what I'm talking about, because I'm old. But a lot of times, relatively speaking, I'm probably one of the oldest people in the race competing the way I do. Usually, that doesn't,
Mhm.
I've since figured out how to solve that problem that I DNF'd for at this race at Honey Badger,
Mm.
because that's what drives me. It was a puzzle piece. But yeah,
Hmm.
John and I, we cracked jokes, we laughed, and we kept going, and we got there, and and then it just, I think what he's more talking about is my positive disposition, no matter what's going sideways.
Mm. So you helped him get
That's
through a
good.
low, you think?
Yeah, I think he was going to quit.
Did he tell you he was going to quit?
And we literally just sat on the side of the road and kicked our feet up the side of the ditch and watched the sunset, got back up and head down the road.
Nice.
I
That's awesome.
mean, sometimes you have to stop, sort it out in your head, and then pick it back up. It's not going to be the end of you because you take 5 minutes for yourself.
Mhm.
Hmm.
It just isn't.
It's interesting, Steve. So it's interesting because I know in that was a 200-mile race, but even in
Yeah.
100-mile races, unless you're starting out at the beginning chasing cutoffs, which some people are, but most runners are not experiencing that level of pressure at the very start of a race, but yet they have a
Yeah.
self-imposed pressure, like of how well they're going to perform. And I find that if we can calm down in the middle of it,
Yeah.
remove that anxiety, I think it works. I think, Don, by taking a moment to sit in a culvert or ditch, whatever you want to call it, and look up at the sun setting, it actually reduces the anxiety that he was experiencing, even you were experiencing. And for him, it actually gave him enough wherewithal to kind of get up and get moving. So I do think having somebody near him to slow him down is helpful.
Yeah, we sat there, we waved and took pictures of runners and stuff as they went by. I
Now,
mean,
if you had done that and I had been running by, I would have thought to myself, those two there, they're going to DNF because I get anxious and I stress out like that.
and see, one of the things I do is I sit there and I have to be right in my mind. I'm calm when I start that race. I'm calm from start to the end. Does that
Is
make
there,
sense?
yeah, is there something that you do? Is it like a mantra? How do you get yourself into that right mindset?
I'm going to describe something I used to do in high school. I used to lay on the grass and sleep before a race. Just shut my eyes and shut all the noise out.
So before a race, let's say that you and I are signed up for a race together. Am I going to look over and see somebody laying on the ground asleep?
I'm going to be over there not talking to anybody. I'm going to be the one off to the
Yeah.
side that just, I don't care who you are. You can be my crew. I don't want a word out of you.
That's interesting.
And that's good. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
it
one of
is.
those, I have to go into it. I don't want to bring in any other noise with me into it. Do you know what I mean? I have enough of my
Yeah.
own. I have enough of my own in my head. Why would I bring in anything else?
Yeah, I actually like that a lot. And it's because I guess, Steve, I'm trying to envision when I go to starting lines a lot. Like, I know myself and I know a lot of others, we're all like chatterboxing and we're all looking around and we're
Yeah.
all like, everybody's got not everybody, a lot of people get their phones out and stuff to try and to like capture moments and stuff, which is cool. And it's like we're keeping that adrenaline high, which is helpful. It's probably why a lot of us blast out the gates way
Yeah.
too fast at the start of a race as well. But I do like the opposite approach because I do wholly believe in the idea of calming the mind through the course of the race. It's something that
Yeah.
I try to work on in my own training when I get anxious and stuff, and that I try to execute even in races is to calm the mind. I've never tried it at the start of a race because I just deal with the fact that there's just so much energy. And I have people that know me at different races that are coming up to talk, and it's hard for me to go exclude myself. But I actually see the strength in doing that. Like I do see a benefit of that because I do it in the race itself. Steven, do you do anything like that?
Yeah, I know, like, especially for like the ones that are longer, I'll find myself being quiet at the start line. Like I'm not really talking at the Cocodona or at Mammoth, the 200s. Most of the time I'm in my head like there's no reason I should be here. Everybody else is going to beat me, that kind of thing. But it is to just because like you said, why get amped up when you're going to start at a 15-minute mile? Like I may get amped up to do a 5K where I'm going to go out fast, but there's no point in hitting Red Bull and pumping up music and then go out and go really slow because you want to go slow.
You
Right.
do.
And I mean, you can see it, I probably the one that I have the best pictures of that, is they're giving us instructions and all the things and everybody's talking. I'm literally moved over completely to the opposite side of the start line. And it's just because I'm trying to focus on, well, not really focus even, it's just more quiet. The less, the better.
Yeah.
And there's a couple
Yeah.
races where I've done that, and it just comes off well and comes off clean.
Yeah. I like that a lot, actually. I think it's a good piece of advice for those who may get anxious at the start of a race to practice getting a little bit more isolated. And I would say not get in their head, but try to figure out how to relax and maybe do a little bit of breathing techniques if they know any, and just to kind of calm the mind, to calm the body. I know that, I mean, because I do think a lot of people get anxious at the start, particularly those who may be pursuing their first race. There's a lot of energy that it gets expended in the beginning of a race just from anxiety.
Yeah.
Cool. So you saved John because you sat him in a ditch. I'm sure he appreciates that. So you said though,
I think we did it a few times, but watching the sunset was probably the one he'll remember the most.
that's awesome. So
That's the best.
you said though that what you did is you also learned from that DNF what to do in your honey badger race, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. But what is it that you learned from that DNF that you now apply to your race?
Well, it's a medical issue. One, I didn't know at the time I had a rib out of place, which then, if you
Ooh.
think about it, can affect your whole chain of muscles in your back.
Mm-hmm.
And so you already get tight and get muscle spasms and all the things through a race. But, everybody talks about salt and all the things, but people leave out other key components. And in this particular case, we just bolused magnesium. It worked great. And it just ended all the muscle spasms, everything. And a lot of people, digestive issues, that would just, tear them up. But done in moderation, absolutely. Because one of the biggest problems I have is my muscles will lock up my arms, my legs, my neck. And if you can imagine trying to open a water bottle or whatever, you can't. So we discovered that I was like, you know what? I haven't tried this yet. I was like, mix this half and half and dump this in there, and I'm gonna try it. Sure as shit, it worked. And I hadn't tried it. I had tried everything else, but what we tried this last weekend.
So the solution is you're taking magnesium.
While I'm running instead of salt.
Wow. Instead of salt or with
which is
salt?
odd because
Yeah.
no, separate.
Separate. Interesting.
Yeah, so like you know how people do electrolytes, water, and then I dump a bottle, do magnesium in between.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about training. So when I was reading through your notes, everything, you don't strike me as someone who thinks about running from the lens of training. Now, you said you have a coach, but I also got the impression that you see running as part of just your journey in life and everything. What does your training look like, having a coach, and just when it comes out? Because if you have a coach, let me just say it this way. If you have a coach and you tell your coach, thank you for giving me an hour run or a 2-hour run, I didn't really run today, I took pictures of lizards. I'd like to know how that really plays it out with your coach and what your training kind of looks like, right? And for real.
So at this point in the game, obviously, when he gives me a workout, I do it straight up.
Nice.
Lizards are on Monday. It just is one of those things, you have to time it. You can't do it every day. He gives me a 4-hour run, I'm going to do a 4-hour run. He gives me a 3-hour run 2 days in a row, I'm going to do 3 hours 2 days in a row, and the mileage better match, if not better.
So
I
what
mean,
does
I
your
stick to the parameters.
when you say, you mean
I
like the
stick to the
RPE?
parameters that he sets.
Yeah. So when you say parameters, do you mean like the duration or like RPE metrics or something like that?
He tells me usually, it's run on feel.
Okay. So RPE.
And then I have speed. Yeah, and then I have speed work, and then I have quote long runs. Everything is based on time. It's not based on distance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And do you have do you have a volume of time that you are training per week? Like what would you say your average number of hours per week of running are?
This week? Well, this week none. No, I'm kidding.
Well, no, that's true because you
Um,
just did a 100-mile
I
race
think
this
I
past weekend.
Yeah.
and tonight I'll start running again. What we do is probably an average of 8 to 12 hours a week.
In your build and everything when you get to where you're building at your maximum for the race?
Depends on the race. Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. That links up pretty much how I would see it as well for most as well. Anywhere between 8 to 12 is what you kind of see for a lot of runners, particularly prepping like you did just recently for a 100-mile race. Going into it, there are some runners who are going to run more than 12 hours. There are some that are going to run a little bit less, depending on what they've got going on. It really depends on life. I will just speak very transparently. I've got a race coming up that I am definitely below the number of hours I would normally be training coming up for my 100-miler. That's in a week. And so I get it. We all have to train based off the cards that are dealt to us. But it's good. It's a good volume that you have. So do you train? You said you train by duration. Let me ask you then, you mentioned that you train 8 to 12 hours for like this 100-mile race. Do you have a certain base number of hours that per week that you have? Like what would I hate to use the term hours because a lot of people can't translate that. What do you think your base mileage is when you're not 6 weeks out from a 100-mile race?
Oh gosh. It's definitely more than last year. I can tell you that. I haven't figured out my average this year because with the fires, it's thrown everything off. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, it's so hard because I know, I'm running 60 to 70 hour weeks or 60 to 70 mile weeks. Whereas last year it was 50 to 60 miles in the same amount of time. Has to do with change in strength, changing everything. It has to do with building strength.
So what does a typical week look like? Are you doing strength training then as well?
Yes.
You are. Can I ask who your coach is? Do you want to tell me? I'm very curious now.
Zach Bitter.
It sounds like somebody
nice.
really, really high up there. So Zach Bitter. So this is why he wants you to run fast.
No, he doesn't want me to run fast. I run fast.
No, Dawn, you don't run fast. Zach Bitter runs fast. Let's all be honest with ourselves here. Zach Bitter runs fast.
Love Zach. Come on now.
Yeah, he is incredible.
Oh,
yeah, he is incredible. There's no one that finishes a race better than watching Zach Bitter finish a race. I just enjoy it so much. So he's teaching you to finish strong, I hope.
Oh, yes.
That's awesome. Steve, do you have any other questions on training since I butchered half of that?
No, that's all good. I just had a question around strength training because when people say strength training, different things come to mind to different people. Like, is it mostly body weight or are you getting in the gym lifting heavy? What is strength training that you're doing for you?
Last year was body weight. This year is weighted. So it's kind of like, how do you say, a build?
Yeah. Well, yeah, progressive build.
Yeah.
So can we expand on weighted? Do you mean like light weights, heavy weights? Are you doing like Olympic weight lifts? Are you doing, what kind of weights do you mean?
I'm not a heavy lifter.
Okay, but so you've been doing body weights and then added like dumbbells on top of that now as well.
Yes.
Perfect. So you've increased your resistance by just increasing the weight on top of the body weight things. I think that's fantastic, actually.
Yeah, it's great.
That sounds like a good progression. And particularly as an older athlete like myself, doing strength training and stuff as we work that into our running routines is important for us to be able to do to maintain long-term durability in the sport. Some coaches, myself included, Steve does as well, we will prescribe strength training to our athletes if they ask for it. I don't require it of all of mine. Those who ask for it, I recommend body weight to at least start, and make sure they have kind of the movements down, if you will. But I do think it's an important thing that if they don't have it added in by their coach, they're figuring out how to add it in themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, one of the things in our discussion is, hey, we need to, he's very open. If I say I need to pull it out for a segment, we'll pull it out and then we'll dump it back in.
Mm-hmm.
So he listens to his athletes. I mean, he's very good about that.
That's a good thing.
I requested that it be added in because I didn't feel I was strong enough to maintain. I've had several fractures or broken bones in my left leg. And as we've discovered, it's usually the one that I have the most problems with. So hence the key that we put it in, made sure it happens.
I want to talk about the honey badger.
It seems like an interesting race.
It does. So for those that have never heard of the honey badger, which I'm going to just go ahead and say that's a lot of you. And the reason I'm going to say it's a lot of you is let me give you a quick description. So the Honey Badger 100 takes place in Wichita, Kansas. It has been running for a few years. It took place this last Saturday, July 11th. We are recording today, which is on I don't even know what today it is, the 14th or 15th or 16th? 16th, one of those. Recording on the 16th, and this race took place roughly 5 days ago. So we're just impressed that Dawn is alive and hanging out with us today. She ran that race in 32 hours and 40 minutes. It took place, like I said, this past week. The race had a total of 11 runners. Of those, 6 finished, 4 DNF'd, 1 disqualified. Very curious about that.
Yep.
It is very, very small. So based on the description, though, this is the other thing I want to mention that I found on the website. The race is primarily run on roads, and it appears to be a self-supported race. According to the site, all runners must provide their own crew, minimum 1 person and vehicle, along with all food, and a minimum of 12 gallons of water and 30 pounds of ice. Runners are only allowed 1 crew vehicle at a time. This is to provide safe parking, blah, 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 more things. And then it says, the runner will also be given a gift card for Love's, which is approximately at the 45-mile point. It is intended for the purchase of ice.
Correct.
They want to keep you cool out there.
I'm going to posture that this race is hot because of the emphasis on ice, and that probably dictates the number of people who want to sign up for it. But Dawn, in your own words, what is this race? Can you describe the race?
Well, I signed up for the race because my grandparents worked for the Santa Fe Railroad, just so you know. So it does have a little bit of meaning to me. Now,
Nice.
The race is brutally hot.
It appears to be that.
It's 98 degrees ambient temperature. That does not include what it does not include what it feels like. This last weekend, it was 100% humidity, 141 degrees on the blacktop.
Oh, that's a little toasty. That's bad water
You
numbers
feel like,
right there.
I was going to say, you feel like bad water yet?
Yeah, minus the humidity. It's just hot there.
And well, and I have to say, when I looked at the forecast, originally it was supposed to be 88 degrees. I'm like, that's tolerable. Yeah. But it's Kansas. It's Kansas.
So is it a point-to-point race? Is it a looped race? It's point-to-point, isn't it?
Well, it used to be, I guess, a USATF sanctioned course. It's one big, huge 100-mile loop.
It's a loop course. So start comes all the way back to the finish. It's not an out and back, though.
Correct.
All
Relatively
right.
flat. Is there any elevation to it or anything?
Over 5,000 feet.
In Kansas, folks. In Kansas.
Yeah, where's that at?
I don't know.
It's look up Kingman instead of Wichita. But most of the farmland out that way, it's not flat. I mean, you never feel like you're running downhill.
Well, I think what attracted you to the race is you've already kind of answered that earlier in the podcast discussion. So you said that you don't like to be disturbed by people at the start. You don't like to have people talking to you or anything like that. With a grand total of 11 runners, I don't imagine there was a lot of conversation at the start. So what's it like though from a motivation standpoint? Because to me that's one of those things, like there's 11 of us going on this adventure. And I'm it's hard enough that I can be in a race with 300 or 400 people in a 100-mile race. And if it's a loop race, you may not see anybody for a few miles. Like
I'm
even
okay.
Yeah.
right. So what's that like for you to have a race that's that small? Does that bother you? Does that excite you? Does that like this is my space, this is my people, this is my core, or do I need more people to get started with?
No, I love it. But that's not what, that's not what attracted me to the race. We were sitting there and we were talking, the three of us, my crew, the guys that crewed me and myself. I said, "Hey guys, what are you doing this weekend?" "Oh, nothing. We're bored." I was like, "What do you think about doing a race?" And they go, "Really? Are you serious?" I mean, I
So
can
you
look it
didn't
up
even
word
have
for word.
you didn't even have it
I
on your
was
plan?
no.
Wait, how
It,
far in advance did you sign up for the race?
Monday.
And the race was on Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay.
That just blew Jeff's mind.
No, not as much as this next question. I'd like to know what Zach said to you.
He says, "Have fun." And he, and he's like, see, he put in my schedule, and I'm like, he didn't just do that. Race speed for 4 hours, excuse me, not 4 miles, 4 hours. He put race speed, and I sat there and I looked at it, and then he said, do run walk method, and then just have a hell of a lot of fun. I said,
So it was
okay.
a 100-mile training run.
He says, yeah, and I says, okay. So what you're telling me is don't take it serious except for the first 4 hours.
Was there a belief that you were going to DNF it?
No,
From him though?
no, that's not my goal race. It was just
Hmm.
literally fun. So, and I'm like this, we were bored sitting at home going, "Hey guy, yeah, hey, what do we want to do this weekend? I need to
So
get, I need to get out of the smoke. My long runs have been going to shit." And I packed up, drove to Kansas, and we went to the race.
so how does this so what is your A race? How does this play into your training run? I'm very confused now. So how does this play into tell me what your goal race is and how you and your coach decided this fit into your training now?
Well, like every November I run a race. It's not a big hidden secret. I just pick one. The last 2 years just so happened to be Fat Ox down in Arizona. Um, I like the rhythm. I can get into a rhythm, I can get into a mindset, and I can just go. Last year, I'm going to give these as examples, but I just said I want to do 40 miles in 6 hours. And I
Mm.
hammered away at it until I got it.
Hmm.
And then I said, okay, now I want to do 100K. Well, it was a little close. Fat Ox and Across the Years were a little close together. And I said, I still want to do it. I was signed up for the 6 hour or something. I said, "Zach, I'm changing. I'm going to do the 100K because I felt trained."
Yeah.
And he says, "Do it." And he agreed with me. If you feel trained, you feel trained. Yeah, they're close together, but we'll see what comes off of it.
Yeah.
And I rolled the 12-hour off my 100K. So now I want to drop it because moving time, I ran 10 hours, 42 minutes.
Hmm.
So now if I focus on it, and, like I did my 40 miles in 6 hours, then
Mhm.
I think I can do it if I hold my head right, my jaw right, and have a good day. I know it can be done.
40 miles in 6 hours is impressive.
Yeah, it's moving.
I,
I'm
I
not lying. That's impressive.
I mean, I believe it can be done. I can believe it can be done at any age.
Hmm.
I don't,
Um,
I don't look at how old I am to hold me back from a goal.
40 miles in 6 hours is moving. That's
Yeah.
impressive. That's a really good, that's a really fast 40.
I didn't, see, I still think I can do more.
Well, you may can. I'm just
That's
saying.
awesome.
Yeah, a lot of people listening would love to do 40 miles in 6 hours. A lot of people listening because that is a high order. I think that's very impressive that you're pulling that off. So, how did you manage the heat?
In Kansas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you that, we stopped every 2 hours. And I thought, or excuse me, stopped every 2 miles. The ice bandana, used the ice bandana, wet down the hat, wet down the shirt. I wore like a perf shirt from Rabbit. They make those
Hmm.
perforated shirts. Perfect for that course. And then, I use the ice bandana. I have to watch how much ice I put in it, but it would be dried out by completely dry, as in ice gone, everything dry by the time I got 2 miles. And that's why, they have you buy so much ice, use so much ice, because you're not only drinking, which I don't put any ice in my water. I drink my water straight temperature, no matter how hot it is, but use the ice as a cooling mechanism.
Can I ask a clarifying question for me? Because I think I mentioned before we started recording that I live in Eastern North Carolina. I'll
Mhm.
put ice in the ice bandana or in my hat or wherever. I'll put it anywhere at this point in my life. But when I do, I don't actually get dry. Like it's
Yeah.
just more wet. Like because in southeastern North Carolina, we just deal with humidity. And you said it was high humidity there too. And so when we have high humidity and high dew point, we tend to just stay wet. So I guess I was confused when you said it was all dried up. It was like gone dry, or it was just all like melted?
And the
Is that what
ice bandana was completely dry. I mean,
that's
obviously,
crazy.
yeah,
Mm.
I know. That's what I thought. I'm like, well, my shirt's wet. Why is this
Yeah.
dry? Yeah, I mean,
Oh, I can answer that question. It's because when it melts, it just runs out of your bandana.
right. And why not, but the evaporation level, I mean, just huge.
Yeah.
It's just
Because you
huge.
you want that you want it to evaporate because that actually helps you cool.
Yeah.
Right. It acts like an evaporative cooler, like we use on our houses here.
yeah, we don't
Yeah.
get that luxury here where things evaporate. They just make you wet and just sits on you. So did
Which
you
could lead to other problems.
leads it to chafing galore? So I'll just say it out loud. Did you train for the heat?
Well,
Oh, what, you can't have trained for the heat. I'm
Yeah.
asking
There's
stupid
no way.
questions now because it was Monday. Like, what'd you do on Tuesday? Well, I realized it was going to be hot.
yes.
So I'm going to have some
My
ice bandana. That's a dumb question. I'm looking at my notes and like, I was going to ask about training for heat. No, you did not train specifically for heat.
You live
my
in
girlfriend my girlfriend and I
I
get
was-
up in the morning, and I'm not my girlfriend and I'm like, hey, you didn't run today. You want to go for a run? Because I don't get up. I'm the late riser of the bunch, out of our bunch. I'm like, hey, girls, I can't go before 6. I just can't get out of bed. And I'm the one going at 2, 3 in the afternoon. Hey, what are you doing at 6 o'clock tonight? What are you doing at 2 o'clock this afternoon? I'm that
So,
person.
so you're used to running in the heat.
yeah.
To a degree.
Hmm.
To a degree. I don't tolerate the heat for that long period of time. That
Broke
makes
up. You
sense,
said
because I
no.
eventually,
Sorry, you broke up a little bit. You said you don't tolerate the heat.
no, I'm heat intolerant, and that's the other reason for choosing that race. It was a challenge from the
Just to make it a
heat
little bit more
specifically.
difficult.
Absolutely.
What elevation do you live at?
4,500.
Okay.
That's
Kind of close
perfect.
to
Yeah, it's
right.
pretty
Yeah,
perfect.
right where and then was the race at sea level
Yes.
ish? Okay.
Yes.
Which also could, I'm just being a dumb coach and just thinking backwards. If you're going from sea level to elevation, they say to heat train. And I'm just hypothesizing that because you live at altitude, moving down, I'm not saying it was easy, but you were already pretty much adapted to the heat
Yeah.
physiologically wise when
Yes.
you went down to sea level.
Yep.
Mm.
So our discussion, is more, well, based on the outcome, is because obviously, I mean, I could have ran all day at the speed I was running when I started early on, is except when it started heating up, then my body was having it just had problems. And so based on the results, I didn't have blistering or anything, but based on how my body reacted, pretty sure I've had a heat injury in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And so that will slow you down. There's no
a little bit.
Yeah. Do you mind if we talk about that a little bit? Because that's interesting from a listener standpoint as well, that are going to be running a hot race. Like, what kind of things did you begin to experience that were heat related, and how did you adapt to them through the course of the race?
I think, you know, so I did my 4 hours, more like 5.5 hours workout.
Mm-hmm.
Got to the 50K mark and slowly started tapering how fast I was going down even further, because I know that I could run the speed I was running for over 100K.
Mm-hmm.
But with the heat, I started tapering it down. And then before I got to 50 miles, I was walking because, I mean, I call it the death march, just like anybody else would.
Mm.
Um, we hit what they call the south side of the course, and it's I guess, the hottest part of the course, and almost everybody death marched through there. It just it's like the heat turned up the volume because you're in the middle of the afternoon, depending on what time you get there.
Mm.
So, what kind of things did you experience because of the heat, other than just slowing down? Dehydrated? Did you get headaches? Did you get chills? Did you have to lay down? What kind of physiological impacts did it have on you? Because you said you
So
death marched.
you could see on my legs that there, at the beginning, that there was just like like red splotches.
Wow.
Do you know
Okay.
what I mean? So you can see them almost like you got a rash, but it's not really a rash.
Yeah.
Or I would call it, look more like hives.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They turn kind of purpley, whatever. You think something's wrong with you, but there's really not. And for me, the swelling goes into my muscles,
Uh-huh.
and it definitely wreaks havoc on my joints. It just makes it harder and harder for me to move.
Mm-hmm.
So as much as you want to run, if your joints are locked up, you're going to end up walking.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and trying to downplay that, or not downplay it, but we know I have that propensity.
Mm-hmm.
To unlock it, you can soak your feet if you've never if you had an injury, heat injury. You can, like John and I did. You can stick. We sat in the ditch and
Mm-hmm.
then put our feet up the embankment towards the road,
Mm-hmm.
and you can let it drain off. In my case, I did that a couple of times. I stopped, elevated my feet, went on, because it would get me at least 6 to 8 miles at a time. There's little things like that you can do.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not what everybody would do. People, I know a bunch of people overheated and just left, obviously, about a 50% DNF rate. If I was at home, it'd have been a whole different protocol from a medical standpoint.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think people have to adapt to heat, and I think it impacts people differently. And so I was just curious, like for you, like what happens and kind of how you deal with it and everything. I know that a lot of people get nauseous when they get overheated. That's one of the things that we encourage them to do, is to slow down, make sure they're still drinking and
Mm-hmm.
everything, but just keep slowing down until maybe the heat subsides a little bit. If you can save your race by going a lot slower during the hottest part of the day, if you can keep your legs under you and not DNF during that hot spot and make it to a
Right.
cooler
Yeah.
part. Like the goal, I'll use me again as an example. I have the burning river coming up, and I'm now like hoping I don't screw this up and jinx myself here, but it's going to be hot in the afternoon, and the afternoon is exposed in fields and road where I'll
Right.
be at that point. And so I've already started planning mentally that I'm going to slow down a ton in that spot, with the hope that once I get through it, because it's an out and back, and get back through it into the woods again, that the sun will start going down, and I will then hopefully have enough with me to kind of finish out the remaining 40 miles, if you will. And so the goal is to get through the hottest part of the day without killing your race.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, for us, I was spot on fuel, electrolytes, all the things, dead on. It all came down to the simple fact my body just hates heat. And I've had it
Mine does,
happen. I
mine does
had to,
too.
and I've
Yeah.
had it happen before. So this was a great theory in
You
testing
knew what
it.
you were getting into.
Yeah, so I knew what I was getting into. I looked at this race. I was like, hey, it's got a 36-hour cutoff. That's generous. I've never finished in 30 hours before because I didn't know what was going on. This time, I went into it with pretty much the idea I knew what was happening, or just a wild guess that I was pretty sure because I like Javelina, I like other races, I like,
Hmm.
that, but they're all in the heat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute, I run a decent 50K, and I ran a 50K in the heat. I ran in, I think, a 7 or 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not like me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So then I started testing the theory after that. And that was a couple years ago.
Yeah.
Then I started pushing the envelope to
Yeah.
try and figure out, okay, what's this problem? Let's work at it till we figure it out.
Nice. So we've talked about that the race was hard and pretty miserable once you got to the south side. But what about the race went well?
Hmm. All, I would say,
Really selling this race.
I honestly would say fuel, hydration, crewing, pacing. The guys were great. Having the support, regardless of how I did, you know, amazing. We're not going to talk about the extra mile we had to do at the end because we went the wrong way at the beginning.
Oh
Um,
no.
you know, it had to do with rain. I guess they flooded. And
Yeah.
anyway, the GPX files that went out were wrong.
Oh,
Anyway,
Ugh.
long
so
story.
it's interesting. I asked you what went well, and you said pacing, crewing, hydration, nutrition, and you rattled those off just so easily. And that answer is an answer of somebody who is experienced and has learned what works for them. And so, because you have
Mhm.
the experience under your belt, having run other races, you do have a little bit of advantage of a newer runner that may not have that level of experience to know how to dial in those four different categories that you mentioned, which is important in a race that can be hot and can be difficult because you have enough experience to put different strategies in practice really, really quickly that a newer runner is still trying to learn. It's not that they can't learn it, but I think experience can matter in a difficult race. Steve, are you curious about this DS person also?
Yeah, I'd like to know what happened to this disqualification.
Well, they took pacers before they were supposed to.
Hmm.
That's a bummer.
Get
Well,
you
at least it wasn't a
every time.
major, at least it wasn't a major rule thing like they cut the
Like
course.
hopping in a car.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's happened in years past.
Well,
Well, I
it
mean, it's
would
hard to
in this kind of race.
monitor
It is.
because there's like 12 people, so it's really hard to monitor. I guess you could probably get away with a lot, unless all of a sudden you go from 15-minute miles to 8-minute miles or something like that.
Now,
Yeah,
also before the race, before the recording rather, when I told you we are going to talk about the honey badger, you said you should run that race.
you should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're probably not going
Steve,
to run it.
I'm not running that race. She's
Yeah,
done
I didn't
nothing
think
to
you would be.
convince me. Dawn, try again. Why should Steve run this race?
Hey, if you're spot on with your workouts, I mean,
Mm,
and you're committed to it, you're gonna finish.
that's you, Steve.
I mean,
I'm there.
it's it's 100% of a challenge worth taking.
That's interesting. Are you going to run the Cowboy 200 again?
So probably not yet.
Well,
Uh, I mean, so my schedule is kind of weird, and this is the best way I can describe it. But oh, and I'm so glad that there's good people behind that change our stuff around because sometimes I drop everything and have to redo it all. And it has more to do with your body doesn't always cooperate.
Yeah.
Um, and I would love to do a 200 miler Cowboy. Unfortunately, the weather is so wild. That's going to be a factor in the future. Now they split up
Mm.
Cowboy 200 and made a Cowboy 100. That's definitely a race I'm visiting.
you are doing the Cowboy 100.
Hmm.
Well, I mean, I know that already. You're already doing the Cowboy 100, so you're
You're
not
right.
splitting it up. I know you're doing that next day, but I already know that. I actually, on the other podcast I used to record, I actually interviewed the race directors. I know they have a 100-mile race already, so I'm glad you're
Yeah.
running the 100-mile. I'm just curious about the 200 if you were going to go back. But one thing you just said that I think is You actually sold the importance of having a coach. And that is the idea that you have life happens and you may have something go wrong with your body, whatever reason it is, or something in life, and you have to pivot. And having a coach like Zach has helped you redo your entire plan around what your life is allowing you to do. So I think that it's good for those of us to kind of hear that when people are saying, well, why should I have a coach? Because sometimes it's helpful to have people in your corner to kind of reset your playbook if need to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we're visiting right now. I mean, we're visiting what races we're currently at, what we're gonna throw off and keep based on the outcome of this race. We do that because you never know what's gonna happen. I used to be a person that would just train and go to the next race blindly, regardless of what would happen, other than minus a break on my left leg. Now I've learned a lot. In the fact that this year, honestly, I've learned that I might just start signing up at the last minute because and just work towards it. Just because I feel like I make the guys who have to, go in and you push the buttons and change it all around. I feel like that's a lot of work for them. Less work for them if I do it right. Unfortunately, it costs me money.
Well,
Yeah.
so I am going to be nosy. So upcoming, according to Ultra Sign Up, you have the Front Range 50K in September, the Tunnel Hill 100K in November, the Coldwater 100K in January, and then the Cowboy 100 next April. That's on your Ultra Sign Up. You just said what'd you say?
That's correct.
Yeah, you just said that this race experience you just had may change your future race plans.
Correct.
What is it that happened and again, I'm being nosy, I know that, but I'm asking because I think understanding what happens in a race and how it impacts your future race schedule is something we can all learn from. So when you've had this experience at the Honey Badger and you've got your calendar ahead of you, you just said that you guys are revisiting kind of your future races and maybe changing what the plan is. What's wrong with your current schedule coming up? Because it looks to me doable. It looks manageable from what you've said already about your experiences and everything. So what happened, if you can?
With the exception of life happened, Colorado's burning down.
You can't train.
The training has been off. I'm not happy with it. And you have to believe in what you're doing to know that you can accomplish that.
Got it. So it's training related. It's not race related. It's because of what's going on in Colorado now where you live.
Yeah. Then, I mean, it's the weather's cleared up. We've just hit monsoon season. I guess for me, I have to have a good training block. I think it's a mental thing.
Yeah. What's a good training block for you? How do you know or how do you feel it's a good training block?
How do I know when I've hit it?
Well, I mean, on Monday you signed up for a race to do 100 miles, so you had to have known that.
Except my approach was to go have fun. It wasn't to be serious, and it
Well,
wasn't.
I mean, 100 mile. It's tough to have fun at a 100-mile race and finish in 32 hours.
I don't know. We sort of did, and we suffered. Type 2 fun and all. A good training block is basically hitting all my long runs. I might have a hiccup and miss 30 minutes here, 30 minutes there. And Zach can tell you I'm probably the most random. Sometimes I might have to split my day up and run 2 miles a day all day until I get all my time. But I've still done it all. I prefer to do it all in one block and not have it broken up. I'm that person that literally thrives on doing it. Not being able to have the vertical training I want because they closed the trails here. I mean, literally, we went almost an entire month with no vertical training because of the fires. They shut everything down and closed it off to the public.
Yeah,
that has a huge impact. And these are things that we're going to visit and talk about, and I think it's important that we talk about them.
It's interesting to me because a lot of people, when they have their races on the calendar, I rarely hear, Steve, the conversation of, well, my training's not good. The conversations pretty much has been, do you think I can do it?
Yeah, like how do I cram it in?
Yeah, like I've been asked in consultations even for potential athletes in the past as they're minimal running. They've got 20 miles is their average in a week, and they're like, "Can I train for a 50-mile ultra in 2 months?" I'm like, you can
Yeah.
train all you want for it, but whether or not it's going to be
Yeah.
a good experience is going to be a whole nother conversation, right? Like the
Yeah.
conversation is more about like, I'm making sure I can execute my race, not how did my training go.
Am I going to execute my race how I think it should be done? Yes.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
interesting. That is fascinating. Not fascinating because it's mature is what it is. And it's not that other people's aren't immature. It's just, it's a mature way of approaching your training versus race dominating. It's like training first, race secondary. Does that make sense? Steve, am I rambling here? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
No, yeah, I know. It's like it's not just having the race as a target and working towards it. It's making sure you're comfortable with your abilities and to be able to perform well
Mm-hmm.
at the race. Because most people will be like, what's the training block that I need just to get there and finish?
Yeah. So because just getting there and finishing, I mean, I know once you're there at the race, you're going to try to finish no matter what. But
Yeah.
if you don't perform like you think you should have at a race, is that a huge negative for you? Like, how do you feel when that happens?
How do I feel when that happens? I've had it happen.
Well, I know that.
Um,
So tell me how you
it takes, it's a, and it might not happen to people, but it happens to me.
Mhm.
It takes me almost a full year to regain my confidence to go out there and compete again.
Wow.
And so for me, I don't want that kind of setback in my mind
Right.
because I know I'm tough enough to do it. I know I'm tough enough to stick it out regardless. But am I going to do it at my best level that I
Uh-huh.
can be that I can live with? And, and I've had races blow up because, of heat, obviously. So resolving that and getting to the bottom of all of it was important.
Yeah.
But when I go into a goal race, there's no guarantee. There's
Mhm.
never a guarantee, but
Right.
Yeah.
you can take a huge mental hit and not realize it.
How do
And
you work? How do you work through that then? Because I think a lot of people do experience that. So how do you work through that mental stumbling block when you don't perform to the level that you wanted to, DNF or not?
I reset my goals. I work towards them. I mean, when I say that, for example, gosh, this year I had to back out of, I had to reset my calendar this year as of last December because, I had something that was just nagging at me. And I'm down in
Mhm.
there. I trained in Arizona this last winter again. And I came back and I'm like, something's just wrong. I've had so much problems with my left leg. And then I said, hey, can you, I'm gonna have to pull from these because I have to know that my leg is gonna hold up also under the pressure. Then I have to figure out how to get it to stop getting, what do you call it? It's like a feedback. When you've broken the same
Yeah.
way over and over again, you'll get a feedback. Well, when that starts happening, I know I have to pull back on my training and then I have to
Yeah.
reset everything according to the recovery. And
Hmm.
so my mind's kind of like the same way. I have to reset my mind by positive, meeting my training goals. And then once I see it solidly start to come off, then I feel confident enough to race again.
Because the race means a lot to you or how you perform means a lot to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can I ask why it's so important?
Mm, I feel, and I don't know how other people feel, but I think as being a peer,
Mhm.
to others, runners coming up, I think when they see that, I think it's helpful to them to see people who are their peers or even older doing just as well. And I mean, to me, I'm competing against myself.
Yeah.
And if I'm doing worse every time, at some point you'll hit diminishing returns,
Sure.
Yeah.
but I want to enjoy it while it lasts.
Well, it's interesting because I think when we can embrace the fact that we're out there doing the work, regardless of what that time looks like or regardless of what that performance looks like, that in and of itself inspires people. Listen, I am 54 years old now. I'm 55. I don't know. I just had a birthday. And you know, I have people that tell me they look up to me as a runner, as a coach, and all that kind of stuff. and I'm slow as crap. I'm slow as crap. But it means a ton to me when some of these young people say that to me. I'm like, really? Like, yeah,
Doesn't it?
it
Yeah, it means
does.
a
And
lot.
what I've learned though is really what they admire is not the fact that I'm slow for sure.
Mhm.
It's the fact that you love the sport and you love being a part of the sport and you love being out there. And like you said, just choosing to go suffer the stupid honey badger with 10, 11 other people. Like we love that. And so I would just encourage you as a fellow senior in our sport that we embrace the fact that we are diminishing returns and we don't allow that to end up and ruin our confidence because by showing up, we are inspiring just a ton of people. And so I think you are respectable and you are admirable. And I think you're an inspiration. And I think the fact that you were recommended by somebody who is probably faster than you and I combined is, I don't know if he is or is not, but he may be, I think is inspiring in and of itself and it means a ton. And so I hope you hear that. And I hope you don't get sideways from the honey badger being a positive or negative experience that it derails you for a year or whatever it is. I really don't, because I think you can look at your calendar and say, I'm 59 years old, right? I can do this. And
Yeah.
left leg or not, I'll drag that bad boy behind me.
Well, and with this one, I don't think there was any negative takeaways, honestly.
Perfect. That's great.
I mean, it was more of a learning process on this one. I
Yeah.
mean, and now, because I do it, so a lot of times I self crew. I mean, I'm sure you do it.
Yeah, I'm doing it in a week. I'm going this race by myself.
And that said, when I want to really have a good, really have a good, if I have a really good day, I want to have a good day, and
Yeah.
I want even my self crewing to be on the spot because I set everything out, I prepare it, and I lay it out in the order that I use it, and I like to make sure, yeah, when I dump it off and move on, it may not be neat. I'm sure you've been through my Instagram page or whatever. It may not be neat when I throw that bottle or whatever and grab the next one, but I like to know that I'm doing it down
Mhm.
step by
Yeah.
step the right way and conserving as much time, especially when I do something like 40 miles in 6 hours, 100K, and I'm clicking off the miles and I'm just having a blast doing it.
Yeah.
And then, because if you can still do it, it's just where, you'll have good days like that and you'll just have fun. It's just as fun as going slow. I love everybody.
Exactly.
I love everybody from the back of the pack to the front of the pack.
Yeah.
We do too. We have them all on.
They're all the same to me. I spend time with each one of them, even on my workouts.
Yeah.
So then with all of your wisdom and all of your experience, there's somebody that you come across at a restaurant or at a coffee shop or in an elevator, and you tell them that you run ultras, and they're like, I've thought about that, but I just can't do that. Everybody says classic, I can't drive that far, or whatever garbage they like to say. What piece of advice would you give to somebody that says, I'm not sure if I can do this?
All it is one foot in front of the other. You just have to take the first step, whether it's walking, running, hiking.
Don't be afraid.
Yeah. You just
I'm a
have
fan of that.
you just
Yeah.
have you just I mean, even if you walk a mile a day, that's a start.
It is a
Yep.
start. I tell runners something's very similar, that a mile is a very long way. Don't ever forget it.
Sure is.
It's just a single mile. But so, Dawn, I've enjoyed hanging out with you. Definitely talking to me. I really have. I've enjoyed being, I guess, challenged a little bit in my own way. I think about some of my stuff, particularly about being calm before race, but also in recognizing the fact that it's okay sometimes to be inconfident or not confident, and understanding it's okay to pivot what our plans are, not to be so locked in. So I appreciate you sharing all that as well. For myself and Steve, we normally do an episode called Coach's Corner at the end of each of our episodes. We don't have a question for this week, so don't panic. Nothing that you have to be on the hot seat for to answer. So that's the good news. Unless, Steve, you have a Coach's Corner question that you haven't told me about.
I did not find one. Nobody asked me anything.
They don't ask us any questions anymore because they just
Nope.
don't want to hear what we have to say, I guess. I don't know.
Because we already told them all the gold anyway. They don't have to ask questions.
This is a true story. So Dawn, no coach's corner for us today, but that's okay. It has been an absolute pleasure, like I said, getting to know you and to talk more about your races. I look forward to coming across you at a future race personally. Maybe more likely that Steve will, because he's over on the West Coast. I'm way over here on the East Coast. Unless, of course, you come to Blackbeards, then it's possible I will see you, because sometimes I do go up to that race. His mom hopefully be an ambassador.
Yeah.
Steve, and I can guarantee if his mom's out there running, she's going to convince Steve to come to the East Coast. Who knows? But hopefully we'll see you there or see you at some future race. But yeah, it's been great getting to know you.
Yeah, I could use a pacer or a crew, and you're going to sign up for Honey Badger. It's halfway in between. Come on.
Yeah.
I don't need to be runner number 12.
Do not
Just
start.
put you in an AC van.
I don't need to be runner number 12. That's fantastic. Maybe I will, though. I should probably interview the race director so I can learn about his race and be more positive about it. When I hear about a race that small, I get nervous, because I think to myself, I need to calm down at the beginning of a race, but I need some energy throughout the race too. Like knowing I'm going to see anybody for the entire race is terrifying.
That gets rough.
Yeah. Not terrifying. It's just like, that's a lot of isolation. The reason I haven't done Cocoa 250 is because I don't know how these people go out there and walk in the desert forever without seeing anybody. Like Steve does it, and I don't get it. But anyhow,
Well, that thing, the greatest part of that whole race was when I had these bikers came by, motorcyclists,
mm-hmm.
and they all like, you know how bikers are, man. So they just waved and they whistled and they did their thing, but they were very respectful.
We call that catcalling.
Yeah, but they were the nicest guys. It was funny as shit. And, but they were cheering us on.
That's
I
awesome.
mean,
That's awesome.
As people drove by, they were just really respectable in that regard. I mean, it's farm country. You're going to have grain haulers. It's harvest season. You're going to see a lot of things that a lot of people never get to see in their lifetime.
That's awesome. That's a good way of describing it. That's something that, when you're selling that race, you need to throw that aspect in there too.
Start with that.
Start there.
I'll be honest, I grew up, doing gardens and all the things, but I'm telling you, there's nothing like watching the sun come up on the grain harvest and watching the farmers out in the fields when it goes down. There's just nothing to it. They work hard, the blood, sweat, and tears, and people don't realize that aspect of it. I mean, it's one thing to conceptualize it. It's another thing to see it and be in it. I mean, because to me, I watch that, and it just gives me such a good feeling, because
awesome.
I'm like, this is where our food comes from. Everybody looks, I mean, it doesn't come from the grocery store. It comes right here. It starts there.
Yeah.
That's
well, Dawn,
amazing.
Yeah, thank you so much again, just for being on the show and for sharing everything that you shared. Again, I appreciate you for doing that. For those listening to the podcast, we thank you so much for taking the time to download the episode and plug us into your ears, taking us on your run, hopefully. And when you get done with your run, you can, take a shower, get cleaned up, and make sure you like, subscribe, and do all the fun things. If you are so inclined, I would encourage you to follow Dawn. I believe, Dawn, you're on Instagram. Is that right?
Yes.
And what is your handle on Instagram that people can follow you at?
Colorado Runner 60.
Colorado Runner 60 is Dawn Gwin. You can definitely give her a follow. She would love the support. You can follow her at any of her future races that she has on her current calendar, and you just never know when she's going to have a pop-up special that may be there as well. And you won't know about that until it's actually happening. But yeah, thank you again for taking the time to download us and listening to the show. Like I said, like, subscribe, and we will see you guys soon. See you now. Bye now.
Thank you.